Star Wars fans, the Book of Boba Fett Episode 1 is here, and I have some thoughts. Spoilers ahead for the episode. What's up, everybody? It's Josh coming at you from Nerdvengers Tower. And I personally can relate to Boba Fett in this first episode. When he was being dragged through the desert, that's exactly what it is like when you make a YouTube video and not enough people smash the like button. Don't be like the Tusken Raider. Smash the like button. So after all this mystery, after all of this buildup, we finally have our first look at the Book of Boba Fett. And I think it's worth mentioning here that this is only the second live-action Star Wars show ever. The first being the wildly popular and successful Mandalorian show, which had 2 seasons, and in its second season introduced, or I guess reintroduced, the character of Boba Fett. And then in a post-credit scene for the second season of The Mandalorian, we get a tease of the Book of Boba Fett, and at the time we didn't even know what kind of a show was it going to be. Was it going to come out before Mando Season 3? Was it going to come out after Mando Season 3? And over time it became clear that it's sort of a replacement, or a temporary replacement for The Mandalorian Season 3. A lot of people calling it Mando 2.5. And I also think before we get too far into it, it's worth mentioning that we don't have any real rumors or leaks for this show. Star Wars has been more secretive with its Disney Plus shows, especially compared to Marvel. This is mostly because of the use of the stagecraft, which is a really enclosed sort of a thing that you can run with small amounts of people. And I just say all of that to sort of impress upon you that there were a lot of expectations going into the show. I think Mando 1 was incredible, but I think Mando 2 was not only better, but sort of set up a different kind of show, really tying into that sort of Marvel-esque kind of a thing with different cameos, with characters popping up in different properties. And I think when it came to Book of Boba Fett, there were many people anticipating that kind of a thing. And while I still feel that a lot of that kind of stuff is going to be in the show, it certainly wasn't in episode 1. Episode 1 was lacking any kind of a crazy cameo or jaw-dropping sequence. And from what I've seen online, there are some people disappointed by that fact. It's really interesting. I think the discourse around episode 1 is going to be really interesting to watch over the next couple of days as more and more people watch the show and revisit the episode. So here's where I'm at with it. I liked this episode. I liked it a lot. I would put it at an 8 out of 10, but a very strong 8 out of 10. It's not a 9 or a 10 because, again, it doesn't blow me away, right? It's not like crazy. There weren't even like incredible sequences, really. It's an 8. It's just really solid for what it does. Let's talk about some of the really good things in the episode. Then we'll talk about some of the bad things that people are discussing. This episode was so Western. Holy cow. It not only has a lot of Western tropes in it, but the music sets the stage for it being very Western, like almost Sergei Leone in the way that like people pop up and it's just crazy the way the music and the zooms kind of, express that entrance. Boba himself is being dragged through the desert by a bunch of natives to the planet. He's beaten, disrespected, and definitely not embraced by the tribe. That is until he does a heroic act at the end of the episode, killing that crazy monster, which totally looked like Machamp. And Boba, after doing that, is handed water by the chief of that village. He's now a part of the village. I thought it was fantastic. It also ties into my personal theory about the sort of come to Jesus moment that Boba will have, a real inflection point for him, a turning point, if you will. And I think it's going to have to do with being a part of the Tusken tribe, but then also caring about the people of Tatooine. Like if you noticed in episode 1, when he sees the biker gang robbing the moisture farmer, he's not down with it. He doesn't like it. And I think that Boba's going to eventually witness Din Djarin's act of valor from episode 1 of The Mandalorian season 2, where he unites the Tusken Raiders and the people of Tatooine to defeat the Krayt Dragon. And on the other side of the story, because there's really like flashbacks and sort of present day stuff going on the present day side of things, Boba is handling business, man. He's doing what you would do as the crime lord. All of these people coming in to pay tribute. He's meeting all of these different people. And we set up a storyline with the mayor, the new mayor of Mos Espa, that doesn't want to pay tribute to the new crime lord and in fact requires Boba to pay him a tribute. That's obviously not going to fly. Boba's going to shut that down. But a couple of important things are established here. I think it's clear that Boba wants to do things differently. He's not being paraded around like the Hutts are. He's taking a different approach, going out there to meet these different vassals himself. And here's the thing. I think a lot of people wanted Boba to just be cold as ice right out the gate, very Godfather, just shutting people down, muscling people. And I think there's this conversation going on right now about this sort of like nerfing of Boba or putting him in a regress state, right? Disneyfication of Boba Fett. Now he hands out cookies to all the kids. And while I understand those criticisms, what I think they're doing here is just building the character. They're going to put him in a certain place and then have him move away from that place. I do anticipate Boba getting sort of fed up with these crazy people that are defying him, and I expect him to go a little bit more ham. I also expect the stuff going on with the Tusken Raiders to lead to a crazier, stronger, more good at fighting with that gaffy stick type of Boba. Like when we see him in Mando season 2, he's prime Boba. I think he's been trained a little bit with the Tuskens, and he just goes crazy on those stormtroopers. And Boba has totally always been a badass. I understand that, but in his current state, after surviving the Sarlacc and being dragged through the desert with very little nutrition or water, yeah, he's weakened. He's getting beat up by the Tusken. But you see, I think that's all just development. I think that if you're gonna tell this big story all about Boba and what has happened, since he got in the Sarlacc pit, I think this is exactly the first beat that you do. I can see the story progressions coming, and I think that ultimately we are going to ramp this thing up, take him on a wild journey, show more of his savage side, and just get more answers. But I do want to sort of throw a bone to the people that didn't like this episode, and even the people that didn't like the episode and are now worried about the show. Because here's the thing. I've been saying for some time, Star Wars is in just a weird place, and the lack of announcements, the lack of clarity, and the lack of marketing. Like, they don't put trailers on stuff and then they barely show us anything for Book of Boba Fett. We have no idea. There's no pressers. They're hiding everything. Essentially, there are plenty of reasons that Star Wars fans could be trepidatious of buying into the hype of the Book of Boba Fett, could be sort of on the fence about getting too invested into the Book of Boba Fett. And in a sense, Lucasfilm and a lot of the baggage from the sequels and just everything that's gone on since Episode 9, they have put the Book of Boba Fett in an unfair position. I personally feel like they put almost every one of their shows in an unfair position. But just because we think it's a little unfair to the show does not mean it's not real. I totally realize that. There are a ton of people out there that are just waiting and looking for any little thing within a Star Wars show to say they don't like or think is a part of some agenda or some move, like Disney rebranding Slave One. Like, it's there. It exists. It's real. I acknowledge it. And to the people that just think it's not enough, not long enough of an episode, not enough happened in the episode, that's totally fair too. Subjectivity is what this game is about. And I think that for any big studio out there, what they should be trying to do is make something that the vast majority of people subjectively like for all the different reasons that they like Star Wars stuff. That's what any thing aims to do. That's what any big property aims to do for its fan base. But I will just tell you, I think this is a very good first episode. And I think depending on where we go from here, I will be either very high up on the show or I'll be very down on the show, because I agree that if they keep this pace and the show's very small just on Tatooine and it doesn't like sort of explore a lot of different elements, it will maybe not scratch the itch that I had for the Book of Boba Fett. Now, before we get out of here, I do want to address the leaks, okay? So I don't really know what to say here. Possible spoilers, but probably not really, as I think many people think now that the leaks were not real. But yesterday was a weird day. A lot of folks were sort of indicating and teasing out things like revisit Solo, a Star Wars story, Kira gifts all over the internet, etc., etc. A lot of people do believe that some of the elements from that plot leak, mainly Kira from Solo, a Star Wars story, being in this show, could be real. And in fact, before the show aired, there were leaked audio files out there on the internet of Ludwig Göransson's main theme for the Book of Boba Fett, and it does appear to have the Crimson Dawn theme within it. So take that for what you will. But man, if those leaks are real in any way, then they're really holding cards close to the chest, because this first episode doesn't really give any of that away other than the musical bit, right? So who knows for sure what's happening, what's going to go down in the Book of Boba Fett. I kind of like the mystery. I like the place that we're at. And I liked episode 1. I think episode 2 and 3 are going to be absolute fire. But what did you think of episode 1 of the Book of Boba Fett? Like this video if you liked it. Subscribe to our channel. See more of our content pop up in your recommended feed. Check out the TikTok. Check out the podcast. Check out the streaming channel. And as I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day. And I'll see you in the next video.